Good afternoon, gentlemen. I hope you're well, or should I say evening. This is a tutorial on Meteora. Now, this is my most requested video. It is going to be quite lengthy. However, it's going to be packed full of everything you need to know about Meteora. So you're going to virtually become an expert on Meteora. You're going to know how to use the platform, what everything means, and we're also going to show you how to profit from it. And I'll show you how I use it and how easy it is to actually find good coins and you don't farm the rubbish coins out there. So let's get into it. So we're going to take an example of Meteora's pool, but we're going to use the Sol USDC. I pretty much use Orca for the larger coins because they tend to yield better and they got larger TVLs. However, you can use Meteora for anything pretty much, as long as there's liquidity or you can create your liquidity. I use it solely for meme coins and I use it pretty much for day trading on it. So example would be this yields probably about 1 or 2% per day on Orca, but it's yielding 0.5. But the meme coins tend to do better on here. So as you can see here, I'll go through everything and show you what everything means. This is the liquidity distribution. So this is all Solana in purple. In blue, this is all USDC. So this is the liquidity people are providing. And you can see from here to here is the main level concentration of liquidity. And all of this, if the price moves between here and your liquidity is here, you'll be earning fees from it. This is your bin step. So this is how much each bin. So we'll touch on bins in a bit, how much spacing into each bin, and the base fee. So the base fee is if someone buys and sells and they use this liquidity fee, this is the liquidity fee that they're going to go through. Basically, the fee they pay to use it. Max fee, so it can go up. So there is a dynamic fee. So this is what Meteor is used for. So most platforms have a standard fee, but Meteora have one that actually, when it's getting used a lot, the fee will go up to 10%. This won't happen too much with Sol USDC unless there's a big drop. It might go up to like 0.1. But on meme coins, you can get 10% fees. So the fees, basically, you're taxing everyone 10%. This is why Meteora becomes highly profitable. And Meteora take a little protocol fee, which isn't too big as well. And it shows you everything here. I won't go everything here. This is mainly charts, and they obviously recommended some trading bots. But I would advise you to have a quick glance, especially on the meme coins that are older than a week. Have a look at the trading volume just to see what's going through and how everything's working from there. Now you've got three tabs here. So this is your position. So anything opened, add a position, and you can swap through it. But I tend to just click here and then swap through it, or I just open up Jupiter itself. So we've got a position here. So we've got three choices if we're providing liquidity. You can add Solana only. You can add USDC as well, or you can just add stable coins only. There are many ways you can actually do this. It depends on your trading methods. It depends what Solana's doing. It all depends on what you want. For starting purposes, I would say do a dual position. So you would say go autofill and then click max, and it'll fill up an even-ish distribution of what you want to deposit. And you can see here the prices move in between, and each line here is a bin. So the bin step is 4. So that means each bin is 4. Bin is, you can see each bin has a whatever liquidity you're depositing, it spreads it out evenly. So your bin in here, I'll have 0.007 USDC, so less than a cent of USDC. And in here, we've got 0.00004 SOL in each little bit. That's how it's spreading my liquidity. Now we can see here the range is a percentage. So they have a fixed bin step, which is 4. So it's about 4%, give or take. It's usually about 3%, roughly speaking. If it's a 100 bin, which we'll touch on, then it's going to have a wider range. So when you go out of range this way, all the way over to here, it will swap everything into USDC. So my USDC, as it moves along, will end up swapping and selling into Solana because someone comes along with Sol and they sell it in my liquidity pool and they take the USDC out. So if that happens too much, you go out of range. Everything swaps to Solana, and as it falls even further, the value of your Solana drops. So you don't get liquidated, you just lose your Solana. And if you want to always reset the price so it goes back into the middle so you're not out of sync. Likewise, if it goes out the up range, you swap everything into whatever pair this is, which is USDC. Now, if it's a meme coin, typically Solana's over on this side and the meme coin's here. So it will swap everything to Solana or USDC, whatever it is. Now, the downside is you can lose out on Solana's price going up. You might have just been better off holding. This applies to meme coins. Remember at the start of the video, I said sometimes it's better just to spot buy rather than hold. Now, this is the most important part of the video I want you to pay attention to. You have a spot position. Every other platform has a, basically everything is spot. Meteora is the only one that has where your liquidity changes. So up here, my liquidity is over 1 cent in these bars now for USDC. Down here, it's much less. So you can use your imagination to work out where is this going to be valued. So if something doesn't move much in price, or it tends to focus around this range, you can definitely concentrate your liquidity here, because the more liquidity you have in a certain position, the higher amount of fees, which is 33,000 in the last 24 hours, you'll get a larger share of it as yield. On the other side, you have a bid ask position, which concentrates your liquidity over to here. And the reason I want to make this the most important part, this is going to be your best friend, a bid ask position. I'll tell you why. On a bid ask, you can end up, let's say we want to put 20 cent in, your liquidity goes all the way down to here. So what happens is as it moves down to this range, you'll be break even at this point. Your USDC will probably be around that range. Let's deposit it actually, and let's just have a quick look. So I should have reset the price because it's moved up slightly. But the main thing is when our deposit moves to here, you can see how much USDC is in these bins. It's a very small amount. So we will earn some fees very low, but the bid ask strategy is probably what's going to make you the most money. So we've done a one-sided USDC position, and most of our liquidity is up at this range. So how this works really well, it does very good on the meme coins. It protects my position in my USDC. It doesn't swap everything over to Solana until we get to like down here. So let's go over to find a meme coin, and I'm going to show you. Let's actually look through this. So I use Rocket Scan and Toke. So these help me search for meme coins that are basically, how can I put it, hot right now. So this is what's been created recently. So I put it down as anyone that makes a liquidity pool, because it costs about maybe let's say zero point 0.2 Solana to create one. So no one's just going to create one randomly. It's usually ones that people think the token's going to move or do well. This one, someone's created the token's 18 days old and the fee is 2% and the bin step is 20. This one we can have a look at and we can see what they've made. So go to pools, type it in here, and we're going to have a look at the positions and I'll explain what all these are. So this one has a 125 bin step. So the smaller the bin step, the more likely the liquidity pool is going to be used. But the larger the bin step, the less likely it's going to be used. But with meme coins, it doesn't really matter because they fluctuate in price so much, they do get used. Now, you can see here that this is a 10% standard fee, so it's very, very high. Also, someone made this liquidity pool, but it hasn't shown up or they didn't use it yet. They haven't made a deposit or there's no volume on it. Here we can see there's no TVL. So I would probably look at none of these, or this is probably going to be the most popular one, 125 and 1% fee. And that will obviously move up and down. But let's look at Toke. because what I tend to do is I just click this and it will show me what is doing well in the last hour. So I can typically see what is hot right now. So this one's come up imperfect. Let's have a look at the chart or the pool and let's see what it's doing. So it's 1 mil market cap. It's doing okay, I guess, like as a chart. So let's go in. So this is the Meteora pool. You'll get more experience by looking at the volume to liquidity ratio and you'll understand it a bit better. But for now, we're just going over the platform itself. So let's have a look at this one. It might be a bit of a better example. So this one has a 5% fee, which is really high. I wouldn't tend to farm this, but the dynamic fee is currently running at 10%. So there is a demand on this pool. So what can you do? I don't tend to buy the meme coin. So what happens is if we do a one-sided position, our range is 80% down. So it's up to here, which is 8.7. So we're going to go over and I'll just turn this to Solana. And I'm just going to estimate what it's going to be. So it's going to be 8.7. So I think it's all the way down here. So it's really low down. So that's my bottom range. And then my range is going to be here. So I've got a pretty large range in terms of it's an 80% drop, roughly speaking. So I think personally, that's pretty safe. Although this is a new meme coin, I am going to enter a bid ask because I think what I kind of want the token to do is to fall to here, I farm for a bit, and then I'll compound, and it will either go to here and I'll be in profit. I can take my initials, I can put back into the pool, I can do whatever. So I'm going to do a bid ask because I'm going to protect my Solana in terms of, as you can see here, it will only swap some of my Solana as I move along. Down here is where I start to lose money. So I'm going to leave that open to see if the pool gets used. So I kind of want it to start dipping here. And you'll get good at finding where the traction's dying off on meme coins and where you're going to enter, because it's very hard to buy a position and know if it's going to go up, but it's very easy to tell if the price is going to fall. You know, this is kind of like it's kind of dropping off, but the frequency of this liquidity pool getting used isn't great, isn't too high. There's only 700 transactions, but off of this, if someone sells $1,000, we might get a couple of dollars out of it. But as the token moves down, because most of our liquidity is down here, some of our liquidity is here. So, so bid ask is going to be your best friend. One-sided bid asks are going to be highly valuable as they move down the chain. And you can see here we've earned a tiny bit of fees, but we've only put zero point 0.1 as an example, like we said. So you can go to your portfolio and you can just check how everything's doing, how much fees you've claimed, stuff like that. So again, going back to something like, this is a really good token, Troll. So the larger coins and the less high risk ones, you can weigh up and you can see what is it doing. So you might want to enter a bid ask here and you might say, okay, I think Troll's gonna drop to here and here, and you can do the same thing and think, okay, it's gonna drop and it's gonna bounce maybe at this level. So it's a safer way for providing liquidity to these tokens. So we can go in and we can take a look, and I'll just analyze it and speak openly about if I would yield farm it. So Tro is an older token with fat liquidity and it's doing really well, high volume. So the yield isn't fantastic on it, but you can, if you yield this for a while, you can do very well. So this is a 20 bin step, meaning that the range is 6%, so basically 7% each way roughly. So kind of, I don't really want to do that because the range will be like, just grab the ruler and then kind of measure what is maybe 14%. So it's dropping to here. To me, that's a bit, it's the best pool, highest volume, good fees, but the likelihood of it dropping down to here and me going out of range, you never ever want to be out of range if you're yield farming. That either way, if it's up the top range or the bottom range, you always want to be in range as much as possible. You do not want to drop to the downside, or you do not want a position where that could even happen. So I might look at a 50 bin step if there is, or an 80 bin step if I am going to farm Tro. But Tro is going to be something a bit long term. You're probably going to farm this for a few weeks. So this, if I done a one-sided position with one Solana, typically you're going to be a 40% drop, which sounds much better to me. If you really think that Tro's going to last ages, you can do a spot position. But what gets interesting is what you can do when you start earning the fees. Now, this is another part of the video that's quite important, and I never know what's going to actually happen. So we've earned some fees here, very small amount, but we've earned some fees nonetheless. So I'm going to claim these fees. Let's say I earned some Solana as well, but we've earned some of the token. What you can do is you can either sell that token and offset you getting any losses. But what I tend to do is I put in just the token back in. I always keep the Solana and I start to build up this part. So although initially I went in with a really low range or low liquidity spread down here, I want to build it up. So you can either do a curve or bid ask as you add back in. And just to illustrate, if we were to put in a larger amount, we would end up with a large position here. And eventually we'll build up all of this range. So wherever the price is moving most likely, we end up with a larger liquidity spread. To it looks like a zigzag and you're earning good fees throughout. But for now, we're protecting our Solana as we drop. As soon as it gets to like here, I'll probably exit unless I think there's a good bounce because I don't want to drop out of range and my Solana gets swapped. But again, this is going to take the token to drop 80% for that to happen. I will see that coming a mile off. And even down here, if I compound well, I may break even. So Meteora is a bit of a learning curve when you get started with it. However, genuinely, I tell you this to everyone, and then afterwards they come back and say you was 100% correct. If you put the time in, start with like zero point 0.1 buys, positions, do bid asks, do spots, do two-sided, one-sided, whatever you want to do, just do it because it becomes very passive. I don't know if this token's going to last, but I could leave this overnight and I can come back to $30 in fees because sometimes you earn enough fees and then what happens is it goes down here, it shoots up and it does a 10x. So the fees I've earned does a 10x as well, as long as you're not compounding. So either look at things from a perspective where you think, okay, it's going to last. Don't ever yield farm something that isn't going to last a day, at least, in my opinion, especially if you're early on. Later on, you can do that. But for now, use these sites because they'll give you an advantage that no one else has. What has someone made recently? You can also look at, if you want to be really risky, what is about to bond. What is going to bond? You can make the pool. There's a lot to learn with yield farming, but Meteora is going to be your best friend and it is going to make you a lot of money if you put the time in and you practice. Give yourself small buys, zero point 0.1 for the first 2 months, learn the platform, and you'll be on your way to making money. So you can see here, I've gone out of range now. So it said you're out of range. The price is higher than what I'm in, but I've still got my exact amount of Solana and obviously barely any yield. But keep it going, practice, 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 and you'll be fine. I wish you all the best, gentlemen, and take care.